Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to part 2 on the airbrushing step-by-step beginner's guide to using sort of transparent paints. Now I left you off in part 1, we got to this stage here and we just started to drop the first tone of black in and we was coming up the hair here. Now this is very light, it looks quite a bit darker on camera, but this is very light when you're sort of in the studio looking at it. It's a transparent black that we're going over and working the next layer. So we're going to continue on today. We're going to get the hair done. We're going to get this completed today. Brush, we're using the Growlers Infinity on a 0.2. There was a question, a comment yesterday on, is your paper sort of prepped, gessoed? This is just standard paper. It's no gesso on it. So we can't do erasing techniques or hair scratch back techniques in the hair to get the real white sharps. We're going to drop the highlights in with a Posca paint pen and an artist brush with some white and just put some real fine little hairlines in later on in today's video. So I'm going to move you in closer. We've got 2 paints, that's all we're working with. We're working with a black FW inks, and the first tone that went down was a black Createx Wicked. That's that tone there, which is like a deep sort of plum colour more than a black when you thin it down. So let's crack on. Air pressure 22 psi on the main line and I'm dialing it in. That's 22, and then we'll dial this in as we paint. So enjoy the video. I'll talk you through everything that's going to be happening. I'll see you in a minute. Right guys, we're cracking on. We're going to sort the pressure out on the brush first. So 22. I'm just going to bring that in. So that's around 10. We'll have a try at that. We're going straight in with the black. So drop some black in the brush. Pop the cap on. Just going to pull this through. Prong cap off. Now that seems to be flowing really nice. Always good to test your brush at the side. I always say it. Right, we're going to move straight in on this hair and start working these hair bands in. They're sort of sectioned. I'm doing this in sections because this is plaited hair. We're just coming off the shield and doing dagger strokes going up like that. Come off this one here, and this is a very transparent black, so it may look like it's going down very dark on camera, but it's not. It's just working some hair passes in and you're just building it up. Just shield the ear. Dagger strokes, just following the shape. Just shield off where you don't want to get any black, like around the ear. I'm really enjoying at the minute thin mixes of paint. I always used to use sort of golden high flow straight out the bottle, and I was finding it just wasn't flowing. It was like choking up all the time. And I used to do a lot of my portrait work with the shading grey. I think that's a brilliant colour from Golden if you want to do sort of like a transparent portrait in like a grey tone. The shading grey is brilliant. Now I think they've changed the formula on that because it just will not spray. I'm really struggling with that paint. Now after using the FW inks and the isopropanol mix, it just flows so nice. It's really nice to work with very thinned out paint. Your brush will perform so much better than trying to push a thick bodied acrylic. Even though Golden's like an airbrush paint, I just think it doesn't flow great. Not the newer one anyway. The old one used to be brilliant. It really did. So just following these shapes, this is the first pass. I'm just glancing at the reference now and again just to see where I'm going. My hair will be different compared to the original, but as long as you follow the shapes, the pattern of where they're going, when you stand back and your picture's done, it will look near as damn it the same. So never worry about getting the hair perfect matched, because if you follow the directions of it, you'll be good to go. Doing some passes. This is the first pass, so we're just building it up. Can look very bitty and loose at the start, but then as you build it up, it'll just get better. It's a real good one. That's why I picked this one, like I said yesterday. If you want to practice your dagger strokes, a picture like this is perfect for it because you've got a lot of them in the hair textures coming round. You can just keep going over and over, especially with the transparent, you just keep going over and over your work, and it just gives you loads of trigger time practicing. Your dagger strokes. Working this in. Continuing round. So I'm glad you're enjoying these step-by-steps. I'll leave a link to this image because people are asking about, can you leave the links to your references that you're painting? So there will be one for this. Just building it up. Can look very loose as you're coming round, but that's what we're after. Just put a pass in here. Really comfortable brush to work with the 2024 trigger top. There was a comment saying trying to get hold of like a trigger top. H&S will start to sell these because they're new brushes. You'll get like the batch of like the new brushes out there that you can buy, and then eventually get the spares. Like if you looked at the older H&S stuff, I'll leave a link in the description to a great site where you can basically buy all the bits to the H&S's, and the new ones are going to be in stock. They will stock them. It won't be a bit that you can't get. You will be able to get these parts. It's just that they're new at the moment. So the main thing at the moment is be like selling the brushes, but eventually you'll be able to get all the parts. I've basically just took this one out the Evo 2024 and dropped it into this brush, but it works really nice on this. If you don't like the original Growler's trigger, you can put this into this brush, and I think it's better. It's a lot more comfortable because it's bigger, it's a bigger top. And the bonus you're getting with this, I think with this, is you get your spring tensioner, so you can tension your spring up. You get your sketch caps, which work really well. So if you was struggling with the hair textures, freehand doing it like this, you could put the sketch cap on, the longer one, go up to your piece of paper, and then literally put the tip of the sketch cap to the paper and just use it like a pencil. So you can just use it against your paper. You can do that. So there's a pass on the, we'll do some strokes coming down here on this. Pass on that hairline. Just going to fill in some of the spots, buff a bit of paint in. They're just working nice and light, dagger strokes. Going around on the hair. I've got a little bit on the weave to do at the bottom. Just down here. A lot of this is going to be set back in black, so I'm just doing a pass over here at the bottom. Nice and loose, nothing fancy. And we'll start to put some sharper highlights in it as we work around in the next tone. So that's the pass there on the hair. What we'll do is we'll move into this bit on the nail. And on the hand at the bottom, just going to darken this out a little bit here. We've got to go a lot darker under the thumb here, so just using the shields. Coming in on this hand. And just slightly line this out a little bit darker. Pull that through a bit. Just do a pass on these nails. We are going to go darker on these. Darker in here. And here. A little bit of shading on these hands coming round. We're going to sharpen these up in a minute. Just a little pass there. A little pass in here, around this bit around here. Just some weird shapes in here. Little dagger strokes. It's going to go a lot darker in here. This black's very, very thin. Put a first pass of black down here. Right, I think we can start to drop the next tone of black in. We've got this one mapped out. I'll just mix another tone of black up. Be with you shortly. Right guys, I've continued sort of on a bit, off sort of camera. Just going to pan this around a bit. I've gone in with the darks on the hair, so I've done the same thing. Sort of didn't press record and just sort of cracked on. Went in with the darks, and then I've got an artist brush. Very fine artist brush with some white paint. And then I'm just sort of going over the top and just dropping the white highlights in on the hair. So just building it up and dropping the very fine hairs in coming over. Not going too bright on these, just dropping a few in like that over the top, and that's just popping that hair where the highlights need to be, like that. You can do this with the airbrush if you wanted to. Just dropping a few of the whites in, and we can go back over with the black in between that. I've just put the heater on here because it's absolutely freezing in here this morning. There's nothing worse than trying to airbrush when you're cold. So you're going to hear the heater kicking in a minute. So you're just working the next pass of black over the hair. Now the heater's kicking in, you can hear it. So same again, just working round. And we'll just continue this all the way through the top of the hair. Right, I put the camera back on now that the heat has decided to cool it. Well, it just sort of slows down. When it gets to temperature, it slows down. So we're just continuing up here. Dagger strokes again. As I say, it won't be mirror matched to the image, but it will look similar to it. When we drop the highlights in. a little bit down the side. Just darken this off here. Dagger strokes, just nice, light. Just building this black up, darkening this out. That'll do for a pass on that, and then we can just start going in, punching the highlights out, which will take quite a bit of time because you are just putting very light strands in. Just keep building this up now and just go around building it up. Then you can drop some more blacks in between and knock these back. Put some thicker ones in. Just keep building the highlights up. As I say, you don't have to use the airbrush for everything. Just use all the things you've got to create your piece of artwork, and that's what it's about. Keep building this up. Like that. And that's all coming together. Once you start popping the highlights out, and we can go back in with the black and run in between these where it's really bright. Drop a few on these. Some highlights on the lip. Do some popping them highlights. You can go in thick like that. And then we can just run the brush again. dry that down a bit. You can just knock them back. Just go over the top of them, just knock them back if they're too bright, or you want to separate it a bit more. Back in there. Like that. You just build it up. You can spend hours and hours on hair textures, you really can. I could just keep working this and working this. But just get it to a point where you're happy with it and go with it. That's not looking too bad. There's a lot more highlights on the actual original image, but just put in the amount you want to put in and just make it your own. Little highlights on this piece here. Just pop the highlights out now in the eyes. A few more on the lip. You'll find working with this paper as well, you have to go over and over it. If it was gesso paper, the paint would sit completely different. This is really absorbing the painting. Little. highlights on the tops of these creases. Just popping the highlights in. I'm going to go with that on the highlights. I think that's enough on this. We're going to work the hand in. So we'll just move down a little bit to the bottom. Just fog a little bit in here. Just fog this out. A little bit more. On the eyebrows. That. A little bit darker under the nose here. Going over, just puffing a little bit of black paint in places. A little bit more black. Just pull it through. Right, we'll just move down to the hand and we're just going to buzz this hand out and we'll call this one done. Drop these nails in a little bit sharper. These little mini shields are really good, the Scott McKay ones, Pocket Graphics. For the real close-up stuff, what's just going on this? One here. Bit of tick dry. And I'm just going to go in and just sharpen up some of these. Shadows in here. Then we'll go back in with the original colour. And just tone this down a bit. Darken that out. Just working around, just sharpening little bits up. Add in more black. A bit on this earring. Just a darker shadow in here. Right, we'll clean the brush out and we'll drop the original colour in. And we're just going to go back over with the original colour. Let's give the brush a clean. side. Just tone this back in here now with this. Go back in, drop a little bit more. In here. Using that original colour and toning everything back. A little bit on here. A little bit on the hair. A little bit inside the mouth. Pass over them teeth. I think we're about there. Another pass over the eyebrows just to set them back a bit. Just going round, just doing a pass over it all again in the original colour. Drop a little bit over this shoulder here as well. Right, back in with the highlights. I notice we've got a highlight just down the side here. And there. Drop some on the fingernails. Like that. I think we've got another one, a highlight down here, a sharp one. We'll just drop that in with the brush. Coming down, there's one down here. Little one here. It's a little bit more prominent here. Backing on the hair, and you can just keep adding. You can just keep adding and adding and adding more and more and more highlights to what you want. But I think we're going to go with that. I think that's as far as I'm going to take it. So I'll leave the reference for you in the description, so if you want to have a go at it. It's good practice one to have a go with. Yep, I'm going to call that one done at that. There you go guys, we are all done. I didn't really chat again much through it, but once you've got the basics down like we did in the first one, you're now putting in sort of the highlights, the passes of the hair. We could go more and more and more on this hair. We really could. We could build more and more white into it and then knock back with the blacks again and just keep bouncing between the two. But I'm going to go with that. The actual original image is just black and white on the original, and you've got a lot more highlights in the hair. But I'm just putting them key ones in. I think that's enough. I put some really fine strands in, put some real fine little wisps coming out on the eyebrows. So you've got a mixture between real sharp tight details and soft backed off ones, so it just gives you that nice complete image. So I hope you've enjoyed the video guys and picked up some tips along the way. We're going to be doing loads more of the step-by-steps. I've got loads of artwork lined up. I'll leave a link in the description to this piece, because you are putting comments up, can you put links to the artwork? I've got a tendency just to sit there at night, troll through for hours and hours looking at artwork, grabbing a few, not sort of collecting the links, and then just painting them for you guys on the channel. But I will start, source an image, save the link, and then when I post the video you'll get that in the description. So if you wanted to have a go at the piece that we're working on, you can do. So thanks for watching guys, and I will see you lot in the next one. Cheers.